Based on the number of times that Tim Walz has been to China, based on the fact that China has a pretty big footprint in his state, we find it hard to believe that the FBI doesn't have some type of file on Tim Walz. He's been going too many times over too many years, dating back to when he was in the National Guard. None of this makes sense, and this is the type of person that the FBI would have a file on.
The only evidence the chairman has on Tim Walz in China is that maybe he visited a Panda Express once and he liked it. That's it. That's what's going on here. So I don't want to hear about bipartisanship on China. We were there, and then the chairman just goes all over TV and wants to accuse the Walz family of basically being spies for China with no evidence.
James Comer's commitment to assist Donald Trump's campaign with empty investigations shifted to focus on VP Harris's running mate, Tim Walz. But just like his endless string of embarrassing accusations about the Bidens, his Democratic colleagues have him cornered on these attempts too.
I appreciate the kind words the chairman said about me on Newsmax the other day, calling me the court jester, so thank you, my liege. Appreciate that. But he said something else that I think really sums up what this committee has done. The chairman went on and said, "My job was never to impeach." Well, that is interesting. So for 2 years, almost 2 years, we have sat here. Well, we have run impeachment hearings. Well, we have had cameras, hundreds of interviews, millions of dollars to spend. And now the chairman finally says, "My job was never to impeach." He only says that because it didn't work out.
It's been shown to people that actually paid attention to the enormous waste of time and money spent on going after the president that it had everything to do with helping Trump. And now that Biden has stepped aside and Kamala Harris took over with her own campaign, James Comer has been taking a break from his public humiliation tour.
Mr. Chairman, I just got past something that the whole obstruction gimmick may just be a fundraising ploy, which demeans the overwhelming legal integrity and impressive theatrical ambitions of this enterprise. I was just handed a mass fundraising email solicitation for your campaign. I must confess my disappointment to be handed this fundraising solicitation, signed by you as chairman of the House Oversight Committee. I thought that you were serious about the legal enterprise here and not just another political huckster calling hearings to score cheap political points and to make a buck.
And what about, can we call an end to the impeachment effort of President Biden? Has that come officially to an end?
Well, I think that the Oversight Committee did what we were supposed to do. We followed the money. We found tens of millions of dollars. We found lots of LLCs that we never could determine what the purpose of those LLCs were.
Well, I think Chairman Comer did a magnificent job exonerating Joe Biden of all the fraudulent charges that were raised against him in this Congress. And of course, there was no high crime, no misdemeanor.
Do you agree with Jordan and Comer on this move to hold Garland in contempt?
No, I think it's a political stunt, Aaron. This is the transcript from President Biden's testimony in front of Special Counsel Hur has been turned over. They have the material in front of them. What they're looking for is President Biden's voice so that it can be used by the Trump campaign in an election cycle. That's just unnecessary. And now he's getting attacked by the right for not releasing an audio tape that can be used in a campaign. This witness, and we were warned at the time that we received the document outlining this witness's testimony. We were warned that the credibility of this statement was not known. And yet people, my colleagues, went out and talked to the public about how this was credible and how it was damning and how it proved President Biden's, at the time, Vice President Biden's complicity in receiving bribes. It appears to absolutely be false and to really undercut the nature of the charges.
But sadly for Comer, now that his energy has been taken off of the president, he's discovering that his new approach to taking down Walz is just as easily dismantled as the one against Biden.
I agree with Mr. Sessions. I think the threat of China is real. That's why I voted for the China Select Committee. And I would also like to come up with bipartisan solutions. But unfortunately, that's not what the chairman is doing with this issue. Tim Walz was announced as the vice presidential candidate, and immediately the chairman opens up an investigation into the vice president. You know, I'll do, just to remind the chairman, just a quick spirited reading of some of the things that President Trump has said. China's been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency. It will all work out well. In particular, on behalf of the American people, I want to thank President Xi. Trump again. I just spoke to President Xi last night, and you all know he's working on the problem, the virus. It's a very tough situation, but I think he's going to handle it. I think he handled it really well. We're helping where we can. Another Trump quote. Just had a very long conversation with President Xi on the phone. He's strong, sharp, powerful, focused on leading the counterattack on the coronavirus. He feels they're doing very well, building hospitals in a matter of days. Great discipline is taking place in China as President Xi strongly leads what will be a very successful operation. We're working closely with China to help. More Trump. I think China is very, professionally run in a sense, and that they have everything under control. I really believe they're going to have it under control very soon. In April, supposedly it'll die with hotter weather. That's a beautiful date to look forward to. But China, I can tell you, is working very hard. More Trump. We have very few people with it, and are getting better. They're all getting better. The whole situation will work out. I think China has it really shut down.
It's pretty crazy that Representative Moskowitz has been able to dig up this much on Republicans, using the same parameters that Comer has on really anyone Trump wants him to.
The chairman went on to say that, Walz is very concerning to me because we don't want to set our business model like China. Of course, Trump always has a quote or a tweet for that. Trump said, "She's now president for life," right? And that's great. And look, he was able to do that, and I think it's great. Maybe we will do the same. That's interesting. That sounds like Trump looking at the Chinese model and wanting to copy it, which is what the chairman said about Tim Walz. So I'm just curious, is the chairman going to open up an investigation into Donald Trump wanting to copy the Chinese model, which is what he accused Tim Walz of?
It can't be said too many times. From rejecting their own border bill to threatening to impeach Biden and going so far as to run a dishonest media tour of claiming that the hurricane response was non-existent, elected Republicans have shown to be more concerned with Donald Trump's future than that of their constituents. Representative Niels told CNN himself.
Everything that we do in the House of Representatives should be in the best interest of getting Donald Trump reelected. This guy right here. Motions to vacate, justified or unjustified. We don't have time for that right now.